Hi, I'm Caitlin, and this is Book Chats, and today I'm talking to my book twin, Stephanie.
Hi, from ShyNotebooks.
You might have seen her channel, and if you haven't, you should totally go check it out, but sometimes I talk about her on this channel as my book twin, and we wanted to talk about how we met and what that really means. So Stephanie, you want to start with kind of how we met?
Sure. I know Caitlin's sister Michael from college. I don't remember how we both got on Goodreads and found each other. It must have been one of those suggestion things, but anyway, some point in time, Michael was like, hey, you should be friends with my sister Caitlin. You guys kind of have the same taste in books. And I kind of just went out on a limb, and I think I messaged you first. And so I guess I messaged her, and I was like, hey, random person. Michael told me to be friends with you, so that's why I'm asking to be your friend. And yeah, we messaged each other, and then I think eventually we just started commenting on each other's books and recommending stuff. And this was early 2012, super early.
Yeah, I think it was within the first year that I was on Goodreads.
Yeah. So it was quite a while, because I remember us starting to talk about the debut author challenge, it must have been February 2012.
Yeah, so one of the great things about Stephanie is that she has done the debut author challenge with me every year that I've done it. It's just nice to have someone who shares your taste in books also do that challenge with you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so, and it's also been nice to do stuff with Caitlin because she's very involved in the book community. So I've been obviously I got into BookTube because of her, and it was just, it's just really cool to have a book twin for sure. So I guess we should talk about what it's like to be a book twin.
Yeah, I just throw out book twin all the time, and I've never actually explained to you guys what that means. So what it actually means to us to say that we are book twins. So I guess kind of something it doesn't mean is it doesn't mean that we're reading the same books all the time. Right now, I don't think we share a single book on our currently reading list. And if you even look at over the course of a year, maybe half of the books we read are similar.
Right.
A third.
Yeah. It's not that often. I always, at the beginning, I definitely thought Caitlin was reading what I was reading, at least along the same lines, but then I realized Caitlin has such a, expanded taste in books, so she reads a lot more nonfiction than I do, so that was really surprising, and I wish I could get into nonfiction as much as she does, but I'm just a little baby nonfiction reader, so
it's a challenge I have now to get her into nonfiction.
I have the one book from last year, and I'm really proud of it.
Yeah, part of that too is that Stephanie reads much more deeply in specific genres than I do because I'm reading more hopping along. So she's read much more deeply in fantasy than I have, and I think she's also read more deeply in a couple other areas too.
Yeah, I mean maybe science fiction occasionally, but
yeah,
I think that's about it.
So what it kind of means is if Stephanie likes a book, I'm really likely to like it as well. And if I dislike a book, she's really likely to also dislike it, and vice versa. So there have been books that she's read and she's been like, oh gosh, it wasn't worth it. And I've been like, whew.
Yeah.
And then there's been books that I never would have had on my radar or I knew about but I wasn't putting on my to-read shelf until Stephanie was like, you need to read this. And Ember in the Ashes is totally one of those. I knew about it, but I was like, oh, it's so hyped, and I don't know. And she was like, you need to read it. Yeah. And then we both read it, and the best thing about that and our book twinning is that we both ship the same characters.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's the most popular ship for that series.
No, it's not.
Which is so tragic.
When does that ever happen? But I'm so glad that we're on the same ship.
Yeah, I always pick the winning ship, guys. I always pick. So this ship better win, or my streak will be broken.
What is happening? Yeah. So and then there's that, and then there are terrible, terrible suggestions. Okay, I think the biggest difference between our ratings in a book was probably Magonia. I feel really bad.
Right.
I led Caitlin into a book trap.
I don't know why you liked it.
because I think I was just in the right mood for it, and it was very particularly whimsical, and I liked this ship enough that I was okay, and the way that she is involved with her family I liked enough. But I knew it was a bad book, you guys. I knew it was really shoddily written, and the characters were why are you here and what are you doing? and things didn't make sense, but I gave it 4 stars. So much.
You're right. I think that's the only time you had a high star rating and I had a low or vice versa. Usually when we split, and I was really concerned because last year she told me to read The Wrath on the Dawn.
Yeah.
And then she really liked it, and I was like, I don't
Yeah.
I like it, but I don't really like it.
Yeah.
And I was like, and then I looked back at our history and I was like, wait a minute, like we've differed on books before.
Mm-hmm.
Like I loved White Cat and the whole Curse Workers trilogy by Holly Black, and she was like, well, it was good, but it wasn't special.
Yeah, I wasn't like in the community. But yeah.
So yeah, you're right. I think Begonia is the biggest flip that we've had. But even like I like that when I came to her and I was like, why did you like this? It was so bad. She was like, oh yeah, it was kind of bad.
I was like, I'm so sorry. That was a trap. I'm sorry. I should have rated it 2 stars.
Now I can say things like, it's a blizzard of special snowflakes, which I stole from Trina.
Yeah.
And we know what that means.
Yeah,
It totally is.
Yeah, that was so dumb. But anyway, and then there are like, but the thing about having a book twin is that you're also like, with stuff that I really like, I'm like nervous that Caitlin won't like it. So the most recent example is a book that we both read, or that I read in high school, that I gave 4 stars to, and it was Black by Ted Decker. And then Caitlin started reading it. She's like, I'm glad you rated this highly. And I was like, no, don't know about that.
That's a really hard thing. I don't know if you guys have run into this. Some of you are still in high school, but like thinking about your high school self and how you rated books then, and like now your like adult self, you're like, eh. So I had to read Black for a book club, and I don't like, we're gonna be on a project, but I don't, as far as I can tell, really like thrillers. So it was already like I had a knock against it because I don't really like thrillers, and it's a thriller.
Yeah.
And then I was like, why do people like this book? And Stephanie wasn't even the only person whose like adult taste I really like trust and listen to that like rated it very highly in high school, and they both did the exact same thing. They were like, I like read that in high school and I don't know if I can vouch for it now.
Yeah. And then the next one is Mistborn, which I didn't read that long ago. It was like 2013-ish. Well, no, 2011-ish. And I really, really liked it because I think it was one of the first big fantasies I ever really got into. And so then, 5 years later, Caitlin reads it, and she's like, no, this is really bad. And I was like,
it wasn't really bad. It was way better than Black.
I felt like it was stabbing my heart.
Part of the reason that Stephanie recommended that to me is because the second book has a lot of political intrigue in it.
Right.
And I am like obsessed with political intrigue done well.
Right.
And so I'm like, okay, I'll keep reading. It was just a couple specific things that were just like flourishes that Brandon Sanderson has in that book that were like bleh to me.
Yeah.
He just spends forever describing things, and I'm like, this is so boring. Why are you describing it?
Yeah.
And then also he suffers from man writing women syndrome, which not all men suffer from, but some very much suffer from. Definitely, like, even like when I give something to Stephanie, I'm always like, I hope you like this. I don't know if she's read it yet, but I lent her Conviction, which was like my favorite debut of last year, and I'm like,
I'm sure I will like it. I'm just like waiting for the right mood for it, because the way you set it up, I was just like, okay, I have to be like ready for this. Be in the zone. So yeah, I'm sure I'll like it.
But I think hands down the best thing about having a book twin, apart from the fact that you don't have to read as many books to know what you will or won't like, because someone else is filtering for you, is that she makes the best book reading buddy. Like when we are doing a buddy read, it's like the same brain and the same reaction.
Yeah, I was really amazed. I think we've only done it twice with Red Queen and Never Let Me Go.
Yeah, and we did it
in
a much more structured way with Never Let Me Go, and we had another friend with us.
Yeah.
But like literally we had the same. We were like, forget this other plot. We're just interested in this tiny detail.
That was so crazy how that happened.
It makes me really excited to do buddy reads in the future. Like we're gonna go on this thriller project with that same friend where we try to read like thrillers until we find one that I like, or we definitively prove that I just hate thrillers.
Yeah.
And we're also going to do a project in April where we read the Hamilton biography, the Rob Chernow biography that Hamilton, the musical, was partially based on, because we're both Hamilton trash.
Yeah, as you'll see in my video that we're doing together.
Yeah, which you should totally watch. We're doing the Hamilton tag on Stephanie's channel, and her style is really cool. If you haven't seen it, she does drawings, and I had to like draw for our joint video that we're about to film, and it's so hard, guys. Like she's sitting over there making like these drawings that totally make sense, and mine are just like, dagger, random stick person.
It's hard.
I definitely think that I really enjoy having a book friend, and I'm really glad that we met. And it was such a weird thing because it's not like we would have known each other if my sister hadn't introduced us. And I think years later I was like, how did you know that Stephanie and I would have the same taste in books? And she was like, I don't know, like she was active on Goodreads and you were active on Goodreads, and like
wow, Michael.
I definitely think that it's like kind of a unique relationship, and I was just wondering if you guys have anyone that you have that same thing with, like that is like your ultimate buddy reader, that you have the same taste in books in, that you know if you liked it, they will probably like it too, and vice versa. Who do you have? And if you don't have that, who's your favorite person to buddy read with? Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later. Bye!
Bye!
We were for years just Goodreads friends.
Yeah.
And my sister's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you guys have the same birthday. And I was like, we do?